All right.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Martine here with the cast and crew of feature film Boxer, written by and directed by Katie Mack. Thank you all for tuning in. And those who have been reposting the promo for today's live discussion, I see you, I feel the love. Thank you all. And thank you guys for coming together and doing this such on the fly. Can we just go around really quickly and just have everyone introduce themselves and talk a little about yourself and the role you play in this film?
I guess I should start. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Mack. I'm the writer, director, star of this feature film called Boxer. And I'm just really excited about it. And I'm excited to be here with some members of my cast and crew. And thank you, Martine, for having us today. It's so exciting, period.
What's up, y'all? My name is Jared Solomon. I'm producing Boxer, feature film.
All right. Genesis.
All right. What's going on? My name is Jacrae Slayton. I play Mike Goody. I'm a New York-based actor, and yeah, happy to be here.
All right.
Hello, my name is Genesis. I play Powell Diaz. That she is the best friend of Kobe Kojak in Boxer film. Well, in Boxer. I'm an actress, singer, and commercial print model based in New York City.
Hi, I'm Shakisha Williams. I'm a producer for Boxer feature film.
All right, y'all. I just want to thank you guys for really just coming together, doing this on the fly. I want to get in touch with you guys a little and just talk about how your time was during the pandemic. I know it was a crazy time for everybody, especially as a creative. I stressed the importance of just not losing that spark, right? When things are rough. And last year really did it for a lot of us folks, especially creatives. So I just want to start with Jared. How was your time during the pandemic, and how were you able to kind of just continue creating, continue writing, and staying motivated throughout the pandemic?
Well, during the pandemic, we were actually working on Boxer. We shot right before COVID and all that. We shot the prelude to Boxer. So we shot the first 16 pages in November of 2019. So going into 2020, we're like, okay, we're going to run this crowdfunding campaign. We're going to get the funds for the movie. And then March came, and that was that. So throughout it, there was a lot of course there was a lot of downtime, but we were still working. We were still working on Boxer. We were still trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to pivot? How are we going to figure out when we're going to pick this back up? So I did stay creative during that time. So I did shoot little smaller things. But for the most part, we were still working on Boxer, still getting the logistics together for 2021 and filming in 2021. So it kept me busy.
All right, kudos to you. Shout out. Jacrae, talk about just maintaining your just your work and just your overall just confidence and motivation, especially throughout the pandemic. How are you able to keep yourself motivated and keep others around you motivated during such a tough time?
I got to keep it honest and keep it a buck. Like, the first few weeks of the pandemic was definitely jarring for me because I'm someone who doesn't like to sit still. And I think what allowed me to not go crazy is staying in my own lane and not looking outside of my lane and looking at seeing because some people were winning during the pandemic, and you got to be subjective about it because not everybody has that experience, and your experience is your experience. So being able to pay attention to you and focus on, being able to pay attention to me and focus on me and make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, that's aligned to my path. That's what helped me not go awry when it comes to creativity and during the pandemic.
Right. And for you ladies, Katie and Shakisha, how are you just able to continue with your writing process and producing and, just dealing with family and such a economical crisis that we endured last year? How are you guys able to manage through that?
That's a really good question. And my initial response to it is I really don't know how I've gotten through the past year and continue to do so. I guess creatively, because our lives are kind of have been taken over by Boxer, in order for me to kind of reset and focus, I work on other projects. Like I'm writing a few other things. So it's an easy way for me to kind of just get away from the busyness of what we're doing, and it allows me to still be creative, because that always happens. Like I can be working on this, but I'm already ahead of this, thinking about the next things I want to put out, thinking about the next stories I want to tell. So that's helpful for me in that way. Managing family, it's challenging. I think that the quarantine forcing us to be kind of like in solitude, it kind of stuck with me. Now it's just like, I just want to stay by myself in my house. I really don't want to interact with very many people, but I got to go check on my mom and make sure she's okay, because she's also in the house alone. So it kind of it made me comfortable and uncomfortable at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. And Shakisha, what about you?
It's weird because it gave me a newfound respect for teachers. Shout outs to them. They need raises. And the Noel Peace Prizes, all of them. Every award you can give a teacher, like shout outs to them, because that was for the birds. Truly, 1000%. The whole pandemic for me left me creatively kind of deflated from a lot of perspective, but mainly I didn't feel, I just was lost for a major part of 2020. And I think coming on board to a couple of other projects kind of reinvigorated me. I always like to see people win, and I always like to work with teams and groups, and I like to build. And what I loved about the movement here, I met Katie, and what I loved is how important her team was to her, how important the project was, and how smart as a creative she was. I told her she was my filmmaking spirit animal. So when I was asked to join, it was kind of a no-brainer. So that's what got me on board and got me kind of out of my 2020 funk. This year has been spectacular, but meeting people like Katie has been kind of the key to getting me past the 2020 hump.
That's what's up. Genesis, what about you? How has the pandemic impacted your creative work?
I remember when the pandemic first happened, and this was definitely a conversation that I've had not only with Katie, but just my friends who are creators and also in this industry. There was this big idea of, if you're not creating, or if you're not building a business, if you're not doing all these grand things during COVID, then you're wasting your time, or you're not really for it. Like, I agree, there's been so many beautiful things that came out at birth, that COVID or the pandemic birth, you know what I'm saying? Especially for the wellness and health industry. So the first couple of weeks, during the pandemic, I did work on the front line. I worked in the hospital doing COVID swabs and all that stuff. But for the first couple of weeks, like, I felt guilty. I felt dumb. I felt like I'm really not in this. Like, why am I not creating? Why am I not putting out content? And then that transferred into focusing more on my wellness. You know what I'm saying? Like, it gave me the time to really focus on fitness and doing yoga and meditating. Me living in the city, I would wake up to sirens and go to sleep to sirens. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was endless. Like, it was just very hectic. So being able to kind of channel and focus on wellness and self and mind it was something that really helped me as a creator to kind of listen inward and be able to come out outward, if that makes sense. So pandemic just really made me focus more so on wellness and mental health than any other thing. The creative, to be completely honest, I surrounded myself with creative people and was part of Box. I you know what I'm saying, I was part of listening and doing like activities via Zoom. But as far as me creating, I just did it. It didn't happen for me.
No, for sure. And you know what? That's real. That is so real. A lot of us, I think, chose health and wellness and mental health over our work, and it was tough. But sometimes you have to do that to just really refresh and reorganize and come back stronger than ever. So I totally agree with that sentiment. Thank you so much for you guys sharing that. Yeah, last year was tough, but you know, we made it through and we're here now. So we are here to talk about the story of Boxer. So Katie Mack is the writer, director of this film and also starring as the lead role. Katie, tell us more about Boxer and just the entire process for you from the beginning up until now.
How much time we got? I was just like, okay, so Boxer is about a professional athlete, a boxer, who loses her fiance, and she moves to a different town, different city, and she resumes training under another identity. And in this move at this gym that she's training at, she meets a new man who challenges her stoic facade. You know, it's something about her that he wants to challenge and hopefully get her to open up to, you know, new relationships, new opportunities. And this is a story that I wanted to tell because it's something I haven't seen, you know, and I feel like as creatives, we have to be the instrument of change. You know, if we don't see it, what's stopping you from making it? You know, I understand that not everybody might have the resources to work that way, but fortunate enough, I always had those friends and relationships where we can get together and kind of create stuff. But the script took me 3 years to write. It took a while because I hit a wall. I probably started writing this in 2018, 2017, 2018, around there. And I walked away from it for like a year and a half. I couldn't get the storyline together. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to say, you know, with all the characters. And about, 2019, we shot the prelude in November 2019. I finished the script maybe 2 months before that, and we were up in pre-production. I don't know what it was that triggered me to finish the script, but when it came like it was, everything was all encompassing. I just sat down and I just banged it out, you know, called my friends, my actor friends, look, this is finally done. Let's do a table read, you know, and it was kind of fast moving from there. I don't know of anyone that finishes a feature film script and they start shooting 2 months later. I mean, unless you're like super rich, I don't know, but it was something that we did. And I think we did a damn good job with the prelude. So from that point up until now, as Jared mentioned earlier, COVID hit us hard. And there was we were supposed to shoot last summer, you know, so now we're a year later, it's kind of like, you know, like this is not how I planned it, but it's happening the way it's supposed to happen. So I had to let go of, you know, the reins of control. I can't control everything. I only worry about what I can control. So it's been quite the ride so far, and it's nowhere near over. So I'm here, I'm happy, I'm excited.
So you mentioned talking about just grabbing like some of your actor buddies and wanting to like really collab and get everyone together. So I think that's so important because I always stress the importance of just forming great relationships with people around you. What do you think was like the main glue that really brought you all together? And how were you able to form relationships with everyone, your producers, your actors? How did that all come about?
I would say about 80% of the cast I have worked with in my former projects over the years. Mm-hmm. And I'm the type of, you know, person, director, writer, where if I if I work with you and you good, chances are I'm gonna want to work with you again on something. And I met these actors, just creating, a lot of them auditioned. Jen, she's laughing. she submitted for a short film that I did a few years ago, and she didn't even have lines in that film. And I just loved her energy so much. I was just like, mental note, when I had the next thing that I do, I wanted to call her in, and I did, so that's kind of how my relationships started with the actors. As far as the producers, Jared, I only knew Jared via the interwebs. We had never met in person. He was familiar with my work. He will always tell this story. Yeah, I saw you. And I was like, oh my God, Katie Mann. And I was like, yeah. I don't remember that, but we met in the streets of New York City for the first time. And I invited him to a screening I did for a miniseries I did called Charlie. And I auditioned for a project that he did. Not going to get into that because he's going to be like, here
please
we go.
Please.
I didn't get casted, by the way. So
it wasn't my fault, y'all.
Yeah, whatever. It's fine. But Jared, I like the way I always kept kind of tabs on him and the things that he was producing and kind of like how he worked. So for me to, approach him with, hey, you want to work on this project with me? And I was taking a risk because he could have always said no, but he said yes. And I'm glad he did, because we're like film best friends, and I get on his nerves and he gets on my nerves, but he's a damn good producer. So, Shakisha, I met in quarantine on Clubhouse. So it's interesting how you were able to form relationships that way, during quarantine. And we just kind of connected over film and the type of passion that we have for this thing that we do. And it made sense after seeing the work that she's done to ask her if she wanted to be a part of Boxer.
Shakisha, let's talk about just the dynamic amongst you guys, the producers, writers, and specifically in regards to this film. How are you guys able to just work together, dealing with different personalities? Because I know Jared is crazy. So how are you guys?
Whoa.
Yep,
that's how we start this off. Okay.
That's how we start this.
So they all suck. They're the worst. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, after this interview, I'm leaving. I think the one thing that, again, as fun-loving and as like a laugh riot that they are, which they are, it's ridiculous how much we laugh on calls. By the end, we're like, oh my gosh, did we get anything done? How smart they are, and how ready they are to do what they're doing. Like, it's rare to meet a group of people, because there's always the person who's not quite, you meet a group and it's always like a weak link, and it wasn't like that with these folks. Like, each one in their own path was ready for this step, for making a feature film. And in the indie world, it's even more rare, because a lot of indies are self-taught, which means that you run into a lot of difficulties, a lot of the learning curve. And it's not like that with these folks. They're ready like guns. There's nothing that because I work on the financial aspect of things, there's nothing that I throw at them that they're not ready for. They might go, oh Lord. But what'll happen usually when I do throw it at them, even after the initial, groan, is a very well thought out, well chosen way to move through it, and well executed. So if anything, I'm the misspeller of the group. I am the one who came along, thought I was whatever. I always had somebody else do that stuff for me. So I came along and had to tighten up, got to tighten up with this team, because everyone works on this team. Everyone plays their position. So it has been a really great journey to be a part of a group of people who I really like and respect. And also they always down for everything. Like everything I've said, they're like, I'm with it. Let's go. Katie's phrase is, I'm not opposed to that.
Right. One of her many phrases.
Opposed. She is never opposed. I've never heard her say no. So that's the closest you're going to get to a no from Katie. But she knows if that's what it takes, let's at least give it a shot. And you got to kind of be a maverick in that way. You have to be ready to like try and pivot and move and do different things in order to make this indie life happen, especially if you don't have the backing of a major, distribution company and or studio. So I'm down. I'm like down for whatever K-Mac Productions is throwing my way.
Jared, what do you think was the most challenging task while producing this film?
Probably right now. As an independent filmmaker and as an independent producer making an independent film, everything comes down to money. And so we're grateful to have Shakisha to help us along this journey of getting that done. But I think that this part, because I do a bunch of other things, I can schedule. I have no problem scheduling and finding locations and just keeping everything organized and together. But this money thing and this crowdfunding we doing right now is kicking my ass. So that's why, we got Shakisha to help us out along the way. And I think, along this journey, that's been like the toughest thing, as a producer to try to navigate. So yeah, definitely the money.
So speaking of finances, right, for the film, I just want to ask Katie, why do you think you actually took this route as opposed to the other routes that most filmmakers take, whether it's with grants or just finding an investor for this film? Why did you take the crowdfunding path, especially during the pandemic?
I ask myself that every day. So here's the thing, I know that over the years, I was able to kind of build a group of supporters. So there's a group of supporters that will support whatever I do, no matter what. It could be partly because it's me. It could be, hopefully the bigger part of that is because they really like my work. So I knew that in doing crowdfunding, we're going to get some money. I don't know how much money, but we're going to get some money. Being on an independent level, you have to kind of figure out and try all the things that you can. This is our third crowdfunding campaign, so we've made some money. We haven't hit our goal yet, but private investors, angel investors, corporate sponsoring is also stuff that we're currently looking into. I feel like is this a family-friendly show? Because I keep holding my cussing back. I'm trying to keep it clean.
No, speak freely.
Okay, because I think that if I was a little less passionate about this project, I wouldn't give a shit, But because I know that this project is actually way bigger than me, it's bigger than me because I know that it's a powerful story. I know that the people that have probably that don't follow any of us on social, don't know who we are, when they come into contact with this project, this film, this movie, they're going to be like, yo, why don't we have more of this instead of another remake of something or another comic or Marvel or whatever, you know what I mean? And I think that it's very important to, if you really believe in it and you're really passionate about it, I have to exhaust every avenue I can to make it happen. And if it doesn't happen, at least I can say I did everything that I could. So, the work for me is that, doing everything that I can. I can't worry about anything else because it's just like, universe, you see me, you see us, you see this team. It's literally blood, sweat, and a lot of tears. So but I believe in my cast. I believe in my crew, and most of all, I believe in the story. So I gotta get it out there. I have to do it, you know?
I know it's been really tough for you to, I know you spoke about it in your last live the other day, talking about just the process of requesting grants and applying for grants and all that. Let's talk more about that and just how that process affects more so women and men of color in film.
You know, when you tell people in the very beginning, yo, I got this idea for a movie, or I'm gonna make a movie, there's gonna be a slew of people that will be like, yo, you can get grants. There's grants out there for that. Let me tell you something about grants.
Okay? Grants?
Grants are very specific. Jared and I, and even Shakisha when she came on, I have friends that'll send me links. They're like, yo, I came across these grants. Grants are very specific because I swear, like 75% of the grants that are out there are for documentaries, right?
Yeah.
Another percentage of the grants are for very or niche audiences, LGBTQ. I always mess it up. Please forgive me. Whoever's watching this, don't come for me, God, please.
Or short films only,
right.
Or like
something
specific things.
Or you have to be in a certain place in the world, and you have to make it in a certain place in the world. So, you know, if we're being specific, this is a movie that's led by a female. It's written, directed by a female. The cast and crew is primarily people of color. So we check some of the boxes, but not all of them. We've applied for dozens of grants and we always get a no. So for me, Shakisha sent us a grant the other day, and I was like, the first thing I said was, fuck no. Like, I can't take another no. You know what I mean? Like, as an actor, we get that all the time. You can hear Jacrae talk about that in our last podcast. We get no's too much. We're so used to no's that it's just like, all right, we're just gonna go in there, we're just gonna do the work, do this audition, just fuck it, you know, whatever happens, happens. But I don't want to be told no anymore. So that forced me, I was like, all right, no more grants. We got to figure it out. How else we going to get this money? We got to go out and be guerrilla and be on the streets talking to people. Cool, let's do that. We do that, you know? So you just have to be innovative and open to trying other ways outside of the norm of grants and knowing or having a really rich friend, or, you know, knowing someone that just has plenty of thousands of dollars. Oh, you're doing a movie? How much you need? 100 grand? Here, take this. Don't even worry about it. I just want to see you win. I wish. So, yeah, it's just, that's what makes this process very uncomfortable for us, because we don't have the foresight of where the money's going to come from. The only thing we can do is keep taking steps to make sure people are hearing about it. People know about Boxer, they know about the cast, they know about the crew, they know about the story, you know, and hopefully one of those things will continue to pull people in and be like, I want parts, I want to be a part of the road to Boxer.
So I get the sense from all of you guys that this team is really like a group effort, right? There's not one role that one person is playing in this production crew. And I love that. So how were you all able to come together and collaborate and really try to raise funds for this film? I'd like to start with the actors, Genesis and Jacrae.
Ladies first.
So for me, there's two sides to it. Me as an actor on this film, and then me as Katie's best friend. Naturally, as her best friend, it's like, you know, I want to be that sister that always supports. So you want to do something cool, you know what I'm saying? It's very rare for me to be like, nah, whatever. Like it's become such a big part of my life to always make sure that I have those who I love their backs, you know what I'm saying? So all it takes is literally sharing. Like sometimes, you know, people think that the only way to help is big actions, you know what I'm saying? Of course, you want the thousands of dollars, you want the big donations, but the simple thing of just sharing. I was cracking up because one of my aunties started like showing up on like Katie's lives And she texts me as she's like, yeah, I like something $31, but look what shows up is only 21. And I'm like, and I remember sending a screenshot to Katie. I'm like, I don't know what my auntie's talking about. She's like, yeah, I was on live and I was talking about this and that. And it's crazy how someone who does not know how to use social media or just technology was able to pick up, oh, my niece's friend is producing a film and she needs $31, and instead I accidentally bought a ticket for an event. That just shows how sharing things is so important, especially within our community, the Black and Brown community, because to go back to the grants, unfortunately, like we're still struggling trying to find grants that cater to us. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to work twice as hard, not even twice, 10 times as hard. So if if people open their eyes and realize that our community is what we have, then we need to start pumping that information out, pumping as much support as possible for each other. As an actress or actor on this film, being present. If there's a live, an hour live, and I can only make it for 10 minutes, I'll make it for 10 minutes. If today YouTube, if for this show, you know what I'm saying, if I have a rehearsal, can I push that rehearsal so that I can be present? Because people pick up on that. People pick up on the, hey, why is it that every time Boxer has a live or has some sort of activity online, the actors aren't there. It's only the producing crew. So it is, for me, it's just being present and sharing. You know what I'm saying? I would like to think it goes a long way.
I love that. I love that all of you guys were just able to do the Instagram takeover. Like doing those things are really fun. And I think that really just encourages a lot of people to support as well. What about you, Jaquay?
I agree with Genesis. However, I definitely undershot and did not see the effect I could have in like helping and in crowdsourcing. My year has been so I've been throwing a lot of new like twists in like career wise that I've been so consumed in trying to navigate that just recently I've been trying to make sure I participate more often. And like I was telling Katie earlier, that like, you know, I reposted the fact that we had like this podcast, and I had a few followers just like hit me up out of nowhere, people that I'm not in contact with, and tell me like, yo, I listened to your podcast, and I started listening to the rest of the episodes, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I'm typically a shy person, so like to like talk about like my moves, I get so like freaked out. But then when I saw the effect that happened, I said, oh man, like I need to participate in this interview, like to spread the word about what's going on about Boxer and what that story is about, and see that I do have the ability to bring resources and not to forget who the fuck I am, and that's like that's where I'm at when it comes to it. So I totally agree with Genesis too.
That's dope. I think it's so seldom that I hear actors just really being a part of just I wouldn't say like the financial aspect of a film, but just really helping in whatever way that they can. Usually actors just, come and do their takes and they're out.
Oh, yeah, I was definitely one of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so kudos to you guys for just really being willing. And I think that says a lot about just Katie and your team and just having people who are just super supportive of you. That really says a lot. So that's really dope. Just seeing the camaraderie amongst all of you guys on Instagram and just social media altogether. So yeah, that's definitely cool. This question is for the cast. Let's talk about your initial thoughts when you read the script. And let's get into more of the table read talk. We'll start with Jen.
Okay. I would have been very offended if Katie didn't reach out to me to be part of this table read. I think it's gotten to the point where, and Katie knows this, Katie, I'll be like, so what's next? Like The day that Katie's like, yeah, nah, Jen, we're going a different way, I might go home and cry. Um, quick story, I met Katie, I don't even know what year it was, but I did audition for like a background role. And since then, we've built this amazing relationship. But I remember Katie telling me about the script, and I remember the text message when she was like, "Yeah, I finished it." And like just like how she said, a week or two later there was a table read, and it was so beautiful just because not only did every actor bring something different, but and this I think something Shakisha mentioned, like for a moment, and I saw all this talent. I said, I need to tighten up. You know what I'm saying? I need to be better. I need to make sure that I'm here. And that's the kind of energy for me as a creator. I always want to be with people who I aspire to be like, maybe better, because you can only be you can only be as good as you allow yourself to. So something I've always admired about Katie is that she always creates this room. She always fills up a table of people that are amazing and bring and have something to share, whether it's knowledge or just skills. So that table reading for me, I knew for a fact that this was going to be something big, um, and I knew that it was going to be something that it wasn't a I'm just going to show up and do my part. I knew it was going to be a process. I knew that me signing up for this, it was going to be signing up for multiple things, and that's the beauty of indie projects. You're just not showing up. You're going to show up for this process, and if it's something that does not align with what you want, then it's not going to work. So it was it's it was special, just to say the least.
Yeah, for me, I met Katie in a acting class, and sometimes I don't know, like if you like make friends in acting classes, it can go one or two ways. And luckily, this was a positive one. And when she approached me with the material, I thought the material was touched on themes that I'm personally about. I love to box. I've been in therapy for like 7 years. I have taken hiatuses, but like, for, I'm pretty much into it full force. And it's a primarily Black cast, and I thought that was such an amazing thing to touch on because we don't really in mass like a whole film themed around that. Like we don't really get to touch on that. So I felt honored to be asked to be a part of that. I am a supporting role, and that's what it feels like. I like the idea that this role is here to support a bigger story. And during the table read, it no, just the table read was full of joy, and that was just Black joy. Like just you would hear a little laughter along the way, and you could hear like a gasp along the way as we were reading, and the cohesiveness really shook me, and in a way that I thought was just so profound. And yeah, it's just a special project to be a part of. And like I said, like the mental health stuff is really high on my list, to help be a vessel for stories like that.
So Katie, it's safe to say that there was like immediate just connection amongst the cast and chemistry.
Oh, here's a fun fact, right? So, like Jacre said, we met in acting class. The fun fact is, me and Jacre didn't even really have a conversation up until maybe the last day of the class. And it was, I don't remember how long it was. It was like the very, either the last day or the second to last day of the class that we took together. But I had already known in my mind, after seeing him work week after week on his scene, I had already made my mind up. And, I think that is one of the fun things about being a writer director, is just like, you talking to people, you hanging out, but you're really casting in your mind all the time and trying to place people that you really like, admire, inspired by in stories that you want to tell. So Yeah, that just popped in my mind because I was struggling with the scene that I was working on in the class. And, it was a day that, he approached me and was just like, yo, I just wanted to tell you, you were really good. And I was just like, he speaks.
It's hard. I don't know. Acting class is hard to make friends.
It is.
Like this, it's just the dynamics. I don't know. I don't even want to get into it. But you're like,
right.
I need to see who you are first, man.
No, he's right. He's right, Martine. So like you said, it can go one or two ways in that situation. But these actors, I have really I feel like if I can talk to them about things that aren't just acting, then that's like the first step. And the majority of these actors I'm working with, I've known for years, and it's to the point where I'll call them up and I'll be like, hey, so I got this script, and they'll be like, Katie, yes, I don't even know what it is, but yes. And it's just like, it's still a blessing to have those types of relationships with people that really believe in you, to not lead them astray when it comes to story. And for that, I'm forever thankful and will be humbled by.
That's amazing. Genesis, are there some acting techniques that you learned, and whether in acting school with an acting coach, that you still use to this day, or that you realized that you used during filming Boxer?
People watching. I know it's weird, sounds weird, but people watching. We're sometimes so consumed in our own world, in our own heads, that we forget that there is an abundance of characters in front of us. And that is that's a skill that I picked up from school, where not only does it allow me to create stories in my head and just see little antics of the way people talk and communicate and just move, but also allows me to live a little slower. I'll go, for example, this morning I went to Starbucks and I sat down and sat down maybe for an hour or two, drinking my coffee and just analyzing people's behaviors and relationships, and creating these little stories of, two people walk in, are they husband and wife? Are they friends? If they're husband and wife, are they divorced? Or you know what I'm saying? So it that alone has allowed me to see acting as more realistic, as more real life than this fake story that we're part of, if that makes sense. Sometimes we tend to disconnect acting and just film from real world. And I have to portray this character, and it becomes kind of fictitious, where we're creating this thing. But in reality, I'm sure Katie was inspired to create this character from something she saw. So that's a skill that has really, really helped me. And I have such a special love for just people watching.
What about you, Jacrae?
A technique. I don't know if it's a technique per se, but I've definitely learned to, and this actually can apply to as a boxer too. I've learned to trust time a little bit more and experience. Whereas I remember when I first started going into acting, I was in acting school, and I was young. I remember I was one of the youngest in the class. I think I was 21, 22, and everybody else was 25 and 30 and 31. So I'm watching, I would have to try to act a scene that I feel embodied in, things with themes that I've never thought of before, never experienced before, and you can see that I'm nervous. Whereas with time, you get to develop, you get to have different experiences, and just like Genesis said, people watch and take in more. Where when you're 30, which I am now, I'm sure I'm still a baby or something like that, but when you're 30, I just have so many more experiences to rely on to make this character real and not a caricature of what I feel the script is saying. It's now I can draw on experiences and be human and yeah, be human. That's I think relying on experience and just realizing yeah, you've had this experience before, you've seen this before. It is try to paraphrase, paraphrasing. That's another thing which is really big for me, where I take a bit of the dialogue and I try to put it in my own words. I don't make it natural to me. And then once it's natural to me, then I'll apply what the writer said and give that its form. So I think all in all, like I feel like time, like as I get older, I feel like I appreciate my craftsmanship.
Dope. So going from the table read now to shooting the trailer, what were some of those just initial feelings and thoughts that everyone had like the first day of production for the trailer? We'll start with Katie.
Dang, I was hoping you to start with Jared. But
because I was going to say stressed.
So, the first day, I think we shot the prelude over, was it maybe 4 days, 4 to 6 days? I can't remember. But
it was 4 days. Yeah.
4 days. There was, for me, it was 50-50. It was like, holy shit, I'm like doing this. I'm doing this thing that I wrote, and I got like this bomb-ass cinematographer. I got these bomb-ass actors. I was hyped. I was so excited. Oh my God. And then the other part of me was like sick to my stomach. Like I just wanted to throw up every 5 minutes because, you know, it's different going to set as an actor. You get your call sheet, you know your story, you know what you did, and you know what you got to go and do. When you're showing up as the writer, the director, and the lead. Fun fact, our cinematographer, Austin Kite, shout out to Austin, he said on a production call with us, he was just like, you know, I never know who I'm talking to when I'm talking to Katie. I don't know if you know, I'm going to be talking to the director, the writer, the producer, or just the actor. Like, he's like, I have to kind of figure it out. And that's a great thing I love about him. I'm getting off topic, but that's one of the great things I love about him. He's so good at navigating that. But for me, you have this great team, cast and crew, that are in a way depending on you to make sure that, one, I'm shaking as I say this is crazy. One, that the vision is going to be what you want it to be. Two, you better not let us down. The sound better be good, Katie, because as an actor, you do something and the sound's fucked up. It's just like, you just wasted my time because we can't use this, you know? So there's an immense amount of pressure that I felt and continue to feel when it comes to this project, because I don't want to let my actors down. The way I look at them, I'm inspired by them. They're so fucking talented. It's just like, I'm blessed to work with this group of people. But we got it done. And I think that when you have a good producer by your side, it really helps in getting it done. So it kind of quelled the anxiety. Jared didn't get to me to the last day. That's when I felt his anxiety, but you need to have a team that you're on the same page with. So it was still fun in the end. So that's the long answer for you.
I do want to add, because I'm sure your experience, Katie, was so different from the actor's perspective, because the last time we saw you was at the table read. And maybe in between for like some maybe readings or like just line work. But Martine, when I walked into the area, not as an actor, but as Katie's friend. And I would never forget, the first thing that happened was I started crying. As a friend, I was so proud. And I started crying when I saw Katie, and Katie was so focused. Katie was basically like, nah, not right now. Like, she gave me a hug. She said, go get makeup done. She literally said, okay, go to hair and makeup.
I did.
You did remember that moment?
I did.
I'm like sobbing my eyes out because I'm like,
I saw it.
Proud. And I hadn't seen her for like maybe like 2-3 months because you were like in grind mode. So it was a lot of emotions for me as a friend. Now, when I transitioned over to an actor, it was the coldest day ever. Oh my goodness. It was in March, right? Mm-hmm. It was the coldest day. Our scene together was outside. The sun was setting. And I think that's when I started to feel the pressure. I remember seeing.
Yeah, we were losing light.
Oh, Jared was like on our asses. Like, and my hands were like this, like they were like stuck. And I think for me, the pressure was not only the time, but acting with my friend. Like, I need to not only make Katie, my friend, proud, but also Katie the writer, Katie the actress, Katie the producer, the script. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was, for me, it was like, I need to be on my shit. And it was, I've done some pretty cool shit in my life, and that was probably one of the hardest moments. And it was probably the quickest scene ever, but it was like a lot on top to make sure that this prelude, this is the first thing that everyone's gonna see. This prelude is the thing that everyone's gonna see, and it's gonna entice them to donate, to be part of the crew, to believe in the project. So it was an honor to be in that very powerful moment.
Shakisha, what about you?
So I came on the project this year, and this is always nice to hear about the experience on set, because it's not talked about unless it's like the podcast, because this is a very here and now group of people. Like, it's what we doing right now that matters. So to like drum up any nostalgia is really difficult. So I'm always like getting all the good stuff now. So I'm like you, Martine, me and you getting it at the same time.
Jacrae, what about you? What were your initial thoughts the first day of production?
I mean, to be honest, I haven't been on set yet, so I have anticipation, and I can only imagine because I've seen different versions of what my character my character has evolved a little bit, so I'm excited to hop into this version of Mike, but my scenes weren't in the prelude, so I'm ready mode.
Right. And Jared, you came on a bit later.
No,
I've been here since the table read, since the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. But to be on set, like a lot of those 2 weekends are like, it's just one big like day to me. So for me, like, and thing to set is keep Katie away from all the anxiety and all the things because I want Katie to focus as a writer, focus as an actor. So between me and our first AD, Melissa Myers, there was a lot of stress in that. So keep away from that. I'll tell Katie about, like, I had a whole rundown for Katie afterwards. After we were done with the prelude that next week, after I took all the equipment back, after I did this and I did that, I was like, Katie, this shit damn near killed me. I can't do it. No, when we go back into production, I'm not doing this and this by myself. Because between, I was working full time and I had to go pick up equipment, go to work, bring the equipment back. When we were going to shoot, I had to, go pick up Austin and Brooklyn. I'm in Jersey. So at 4 a.m., I'm leaving my house in Jersey to go pick up Austin and Brooklyn to go meet the crew, the cast in Queens. Like, it was crazy. And all of that between like working a full-time job. So Katie didn't know all of that, but it was fun. I will say that it was fun. All the people that we have on set, all the people that Katie has brought on board, from sound to like she said, our amazing cinematographer Austin. Austin is amazing, and he just makes it really, really easy for us to get this done. Everybody on the set makes it really easy for us to get this done because it's just it's a big machine, but it's a well-oiled machine, and that really, really helps to kind of quell all the anxiety that I do have while I'm on set, and like trying to keep time and keep us on schedule and not lose light and make sure this person's in makeup and they're on set on time and all of that.
Jared, I hear the trauma right now. I hear the quivering. It's okay, buddy.
Yeah, no, because I'm having flashbacks. Shakisha,
fine, come back to us. Come back, Jared.
I'm having flashbacks, Shakisha, and I'm just like,
yeah. It's all right, buddy. We got you.
But yeah. I'm excited to get back on set. We got some other processes and more crew and producers and things that are able to help us now, so that it will all be on, me and Melissa. So I'm excited to get back on set.
Now, this question is for the producers. How has this experience differed from producing films in the past? Shakisha, I'll let you go first.
For me, I like in film school, producing with my classmates and then working on my own stuff has, and building out my team, I think for me has taught me the importance of what Katie has developed with K-Mac Productions and the Boxer Squad. Knowing how important it is for everyone to carry their own weight, knowing how important it is for everyone to be on, like, even if you are not, like, even if this is your first time doing it, having the ability to stand up and learn it well and do it well. Katie posed to me once, she posed it this way. She said, it's like, even though we haven't reached we're not a multi-million-dollar operation now, I run this company like a multi-million-dollar operation. So that goes to show the ability, I don't think a lot of us creatives like being, left or right brain, the side that has to be analytical. Like, we don't enjoy that side of ourselves. Like, we enjoy, I call it the muse, the part of us that is inspired, and, we get to be flighty, and we get to, we really don't like to do rewrites, because that's the heady stuff. That's the stuff where you have to start really like going in and digging deeper and hearing the feedback, and we prefer that other side. And to Katie's, just attributed to her strength and her character, she's done it for a long time as a solo act, and then bringing on other people, wanting them to be as excellent as she has been with all of her other projects. It's really pushing me to, because again, like working on my own stuff, I push this stuff on other people. It's a 5-man team, so we all have to kind of like get in and get our hands dirty. So it's kind of taking me back to like basics and really understanding how important it is to be a part of a team and carry your weight and be excellent at everything that you do. So I don't say it, Katie, but thanks, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, you bet. Bye.
No, thanks, honestly, sincerely, sis.
For sure.
Jared, what about you? How's this experience different from other projects you've worked in past?
So I
lean in closer so I can look at Jared. Let me lean in.
Oh, here we go. I worked on both sides. So I'm an actor first, but I also, being an actor pushed me into this producer role, because, nowadays you got to produce your own work, cast yourself and all that. So that's how I, ventured into this role. But this particular project, it is the biggest project that I've ever worked on. And I've learned a lot, but I've also realized how much I've learned before this that I can bring to the table and implement here. So this experience has strengthened my confidence in myself and my ability to, get this done, because I'm like, okay, this got to be done. I did that before. I can do this shit. So, even though it's challenging, I'm grateful for the experience, because it's helped me grow in my own mind, like, and see who I actually am in this industry and what my abilities are in this industry. So I think that's the biggest thing that this whole process since 2019 has done for me. And I'm grateful for that.
Jared, what is your advice for like upcoming actors who want to venture out into other aspects of film, whether it's producing, directing, writing? What would you tell these up and coming, especially just actors, of color?
Well, for any actor who wants to, transition over to, the behind the camera part of it, I would say get on set, get on to the do background work. And this is what helped me the most. There's a lot of people that do background work and they just are there to do background work and that's it. They don't pay attention to what else is going on. But if you are a person who wants to get on the other side and you're trying to figure out, okay, what am I interested in on the other side? Or I want to be a producer, do background work and pay attention to everything that's going on set. Pay attention to what the DP is doing, the gaffer, pay attention to what the first AD is doing, what the PAs are doing. Pay attention to everybody. And like for me, when I did background work, a lot of it was that's a lot of what I did. And that's why I know who does work what and how it's supposed to go. Because like Genesis was saying, people watch. I just would people watch. I would be on background of these shows and these movies and people watch. Not only the actors, just to pick up on, their craft, but I would pick up on what everybody else on set was doing. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, the biggest advice that I could give somebody: get on set, whether you're being a PA or if you're an actor, you're doing background work on, these big budget studio films and TV shows, and pay attention to what everybody else is doing.
Right. So we see actors such as Tracy Ellis Ross, Angela Bassett, so many people who are just now stepping into the role of director, producer, and this is like well into 15, 20 years of their acting career. Katie, why was this important for you to actually transition into being a director, being a producer, in addition to being an actress?
For me, as an actor, that's your job. You show up, you do the job. I was a writer first. I started writing when I was a kid, and my knack for storytelling is kind of what got me into acting. But in acting, it's like, this is cool, I like it, but I want to do richer roles than the stuff that I was booking, and I was just like, I can control that. Let me write work for me. Let me write work for my friends that are also being typecast all the time, so and being in control of that, or should I say being in control of creating your own work. Who's going to tell me no? You know what I mean? There's power in that, so we could tell the same story, but my version and your version are going to be different. And that's why I never worry about, oh, this Black female director, she got a deal, or this Black female writer got a deal. That's cool. I feel like there's room for all of us. And because the doors are not being opened fast enough for us, you have to kick in the fucking door. You have to continue to do the thing that, you're meant to do. So it just kind of all made sense to me. I didn't like being on set. Being on set is always hurry up and wait. I didn't like waiting around. Sure, I hadn't watched everything everybody was doing. I'm bored out of my mind. I'm just getting antsy. So having the control behind the camera, you facilitate how the day is gonna go. You're never just waiting. I mean, well, even when we are waiting for the scene to be lit, there's other things to take care of or to get in front of, so we can ensure that the day runs smoothly. But at the end of the day, I just think that I'm really good at what I do, and it's not me being cocky, and I want people to know that they're talented, to like embrace that. I know I'm a good writer. If I wasn't a good writer, I wouldn't have these really talented actors keep coming back, keep agreeing to go on these new journeys with me. I wouldn't have cinematographers saying, look, we ain't even got to talk about money right now. This script, this is what I want to work on. Let's get into it. So I think that having the talent and then having the ability to nurture and really create these relationships with people is what I'm good at. So I think it's just a matter of time before we get to, we keep, ascending in these levels and going farther and farther on this journey. And I'm of the mindset, if I go, we all going. So Boxer, let's say Boxer hit, everyone's calling, oh my God, Katie, can we get you, Yeah, okay, that's cool. Who's producing? Jared Solomon? If he's not there, I'm not doing it. So, you know, because I know that this person could have 20 years in the business experience, but I know how I work with Jared. I know how we get stuff done. And it kind of goes to what Shakisha was saying earlier about, you know, when she came on, one of the things that she recognized immediately was that I'm very protective of my team. Like, I have to keep them in this place, this space where we continue to do what we do the way we do it, with the drive, the passion, the energy, and I can't have anybody fuck that up, you know? So I'm just on a mission, Martine, to get the stories out there that people don't even know that they need, but when they experience it, they're gonna want more of. So that's what I'm at on that.
How do you think Boxer will stand out from other famous sport romantic dramas such as Creed?
Sure, it's a good question. It stands out off rip because we have an all-Black cast, and one of the themes in the film is mental health. So Black people in therapy, there's a stigma in our community about it. It's been there for a long time. There's a lot of people that's like, nah, I don't need no therapy. I don't need to talk to nobody. I don't know. Yo, we do though. We do. I'm of the mind frame. If you're Black, you're gonna need therapy. I don't care where you're at, what you're doing, you're gonna need therapy at some point in life. So in Boxer, we get to see what that looks like. When Black people, a Black man, a Black woman, both professional athletes, what you get to see what it looks like when we resist therapy. We get to see what it looks like when you open yourself up to therapy, and we get to see what it looks like as Black people, what the end result can look like, or what the journey could look like for you versus what we probably been conditioned to believe about it. So, you know, that alone, I think, is enough for people to, you know, keep watching, keep hearing, keep talking about it, you know, and then you have a Black woman that's the lead. She's the boxer. Not to say that there aren't movies out there, but when's the last movie that you saw that a Black woman boxer is the lead? You know, so I didn't want to play this role. It was never in my mind, but here we are. And it makes me feel better knowing that it's gonna look how I envisioned it looking. So yeah.
Can you give us some details about the trailer and what can we expect actually from the film?
Whew, the trailer is one of the most beautiful things I've ever been a part of. Look and feel, you know, it's funny, we've been talking about Boxer, the actors talking about Boxer, sharing about Boxer, and the teaser trailer that we have has zero to do with boxing. I love that, because I know people are like, all right, so where's the boxing? It's coming. You know, we need to be able to finish it, because the prelude is the setup for what the film is about, you know. So you get to see parts of relationships. You get to see that something is going on. We want to know what's going on. We got this trailer. It's the score of it is inviting and seductive and mysterious. You got these actors, the looks on their faces. What is going on? You're seeing Stephen Caulfield Jr. fall out at the end. What is happening here? That's what I want people to, you know, wonder. But what you can expect is to see visually. I want you to think about the best looking film you've seen in the last couple of years. You're going to get that. You're going to get the aesthetic that is just like, wow, this was shot really beautifully. Then you can expect to see the talent really deliver. You're not going to see actors that aren't connected in their role. You're going to see them deeply immersed in these roles, however big or small they are. And you can expect to get to walk away from this film feeling something. That's my job. What you feel is on you, because once it's out there, it's no longer in my hands, but I can guarantee you that you're going to feel something about it. You're going to want to say something, have a conversation about something. You can be mad or happy at the ending. As long as you're talking, I did my job. You know what I mean? Because the worst thing for me as a writer, director is to make a film, and then when it ends, you just sitting there like, so that's it. You know what I'm saying? You're never gonna get that with my stuff. You're never gonna get that. So I think that those are the things that you can expect from Boxer. It's just gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be beautiful.
So before we start wrapping up, I would like to ask everyone, actually, both cast and crew, in light of the film Boxer, which I'm so excited for, what has been your biggest fight in the film industry thus far, and how did you overcome that? I'll go ahead and start with Genesis.
My biggest fight with the film industry is being typecast. Hence why I work very closely with Katie now. For a very long time, I had a typical exotic, hate that word, characters, the side chick, the mixed kid, and it was very difficult because, you know, I wanted to push myself. I wanted to be more complex, and I remember telling Katie once, I want to play this type of role. I want to play this kind of role. And she'll be like, say no more. And she'll write something for me. Katie wrote one of my monologues for auditioning. So with that being said, it was a fight, but it's up to you what you do with that fight. Are you going to keep fighting against it? Or are you going to find a different avenue? And for me, it was, I'm going to find a different way. And since then, it's allowed me to grow. Because if not, I would have continued on with these very typecast roles that weren't doing much for me, you know? So it was a fight, but it's also a learning experience.
Dupree, what about you?
I guess to piggyback off of that a little bit, not only typecasting, but I guess in a way, some sort of like colorism. During my quarantine, I was blessed and had to drive enough to revamp my reps, and I got all new reps, and they've been killing it. And I remember when we weren't in production, I like everything was like pretty shut down. I reached out to my manager. And I was like, "Yo, let's get into voiceover. You know, like let's do some voiceover since you know we could do that from home and write it good and all this stuff." And, you know, thinking about my experience growing up and like, you know, knowing that being black isn't a monolith, like seeing this type of, like, you don't know when you don't, especially with voiceover, you don't know sometimes when you don't get it until you watch it on TV and you're like, oh, that's the voice they wanted. And so you hear, like you're on hold and you're like on hold for this. And I think, and I listen, I'm like, yeah, that's a different type of black. That's not my version of black. And then you have to, and you see that the tastemakers at the top are not black. Like I'll give you an example. Like I was on hold for this Huggies campaign. It was a grip, and I remember I was like so hyped because I was in Mexico and I brought all my equipment, and they were, my agents hit me up and they're like, "You're on hold for this campaign. You need to do this like ASAP." I'm like coming back from the beach. I had a car. I was coming back from the beach, going back to my my Airbnb. I took this solo trip. And I'm on the phone with like production and casting, and okay, they're like, okay, do this. And there's an awesome script. It was really about this like millennial, I don't know, parenting, whatever. And you know, this is the Super Bowl commercial, and you're gonna start off with, you know, you're gonna be the voice of the new Huggies campaign if you get this. And I'm like, oh, dope. So then I'm reading it, right? And there's like these 3 white women on this conference call with me, and I'm reading it, and they're like, okay, awesome. Now be more you. And I'm like, this shit again. Like, you know, I'm reading it. They're like, okay, great. But you can relax. Like, just be more you. And it hit me. I said, it said, be more black. I got you. And like, you have like, it's like this thing that I fucking disdain. But it's like, we really have to we need more of us at the top to like talk about that there's no just one version of black. And I think that's the biggest hill I have with the industry right now is being a part of it, because it's just funny just being in the mix of all this weird colorism that happens all the time, all the time. So that's my biggest struggle.
Jared, what about you?
Yeah, I think, and a lot of the reason why I'm even doing this film is because I feel like we need to see more of us in different lights, in film and on TV. It is better now. Like if you look at film, TVs, we have, you know, Shonda and Issa and everybody else that's, you know, changing the industry and getting these opportunities. But I don't think that that's, you know, that's enough to have a handful of people that are doing it. We need to have just as many people as they have telling our stories. So to piggyback on what Jacrae was saying, you know, when there's something called the McKinsey study, and I'm laughing because we were talking about it the other day, and Shakisha called it McCormick, so that's like an inside thing, and I'm like, McCormick, like the seasoning people. But anyway, if you look up the McKinsey study, the McKinsey study will tell you that when there's more Black people at the top, more people of color at the top, everybody below, there's more people, you know, throughout the line that are hired and get opportunities. And so I want to be able to penetrate the top. I want to put us at the top so that we have that trickle down effect, and we see more of us not only in front of the screen, in front of the camera, but behind the camera, being a producer, being a showrunner, just behind the camera, getting shit done and hiring ourselves. So that's my biggest thing, is to penetrate Hollywood, penetrate this filmmaking and this TV industry with more of us, because we out here, we just need the opportunities to show our talents.
Absolutely. Shakisha?
So as a Black woman who runs a company, production company, and has sat in a lot of rooms and a lot of spaces, I've had to learn to know my worth, and even when it hurt, when to say no. And there have been quite a number of opportunities on the surface that at the time could have been lucrative, or like I had to learn to say no, because not every opportunity is a good opportunity. And I also had to learn how to really stand up and voice quickly. I have a web series, it's called Curvy Girls, and I had an actress on the series, and at the time I tried to work with this person, trying to, like, the person would never show up on time for rehearsals, and I'm renting space and the other actors are showing up, and long story short, I had to end up letting her go. And the conversation I believe I had would have gone differently had I just executed when I knew. So learning to be more exact and precise and not caught up in feelings. Being called a bitch is not such a bad thing when you're doing the right thing. When you're doing the right thing for your project, when you're doing the right thing for your whole, like, you can't, what's the word? You can't look out for one person when you have a whole team that is depending on you. And those were the hardest lessons for me, knowing when to say no and like making decisions straight away.
Katie, what has been your biggest fight thus far in the film industry?
Thank you for repeating that question, because I was like, wait, what's the question again? My biggest fight, there's not enough, I echo the sentiment in the room right now, there's not enough of us we're in positions of power to change a lot of the Black narrative that is on film and TV. For me, it's one of two things. Like Jared said, you can either try to infiltrate Hollywood and change it that way, which is fine, or you create a different Hollywood and you do it your own way. See, I I have no desire to go up against all the white people, old Hollywood, that continue to dictate what's in the movies, what's in the theaters, and the types of stories to tell, because, you know, they've been there for years. There's a lot of money, there's a lot of power involved in that. I'm more interested in creating something that supersedes that puts more of us in the rooms, that's show running, that's, you know, giving out the money, that's being like, you know what, like Jacre says, like Jen says, like we all say, we're not monolithic. We have so many stories to tell. There are so many of us creators, and I would really like to see more Black women behind the lens, directing, writing, behind the camera, because you see these, if you look at films that women have directed and shot over the last couple of years, you get a different perspective, you get a different eye. We see things that a male director cannot see, a male writer cannot see. It's a whole different vision, it's a whole different world. We need more of that. You know what I mean? Because, and I said this on a live the other day with to Shakisha and Jared, I was just like, look, I'm all for Ryan Coogler, all for it, super talented, super dope. I want to be in a position where me and Ryan are directing the same project, so you can see the type of visions, how different. What am I trying to say? How it's different from male versus female behind the lens. And we need more of that. We need to see more options. We need to see more, you know what I'm saying? We need to see more of that. So that's my biggest obstacle right now. And I'm gonna push for that as long as I'm here.
And Katie, you bring up such a big fact. It's built that way. It's built that way. It is so important for people to see themselves.
Yeah.
It is life-changing, life-altering. So why would I give up the very power structure that would allow another generation to become something, like be okay in their own skin and be okay with not having to be something, you know, be cookie cutter, you know, like, so it's built that way for a reason. So 1000% on that.
And money has a lot to do with that too, because we have this amazing project right here, and somebody can be like, you know what, I love this. I'll give you $1 million to take this off here. I'll give you $1 million to make it, but I want to switch out all of your actors and get another director. I'm sorry, what? Now to some, they be like, give me that money, baby. For me, my vision is important. It's not gonna be the same story. It's not gonna be the same story with different actors. It's not gonna be the same story with a different director. I'm okay with that. So, you know, those are the type of sacrifices that you have to make when you on an indie level and you start moving up. I mean, when you, like, because you can't make shorts forever. I mean, you can, but why would you? Because you have to move up. So working on this feature was inevitable. It's a part of the journey, you know? So we have to maintain control, our creative control of the stories that we want to tell. It's important.
Okay, so where can we find the trailer? Let's talk about the social media accounts, all the links where we can learn just more about this film and the cast. Yeah.
For sure, guys, look, for all things Boxer, we have a website, boxerthemovie.com. You can go there, you can see pictures of the cast and crew. You get little blurbs on all of us, what our story is, what's going on, how we play a part in this project. And, you know, you also get links to the blog. You get links to, obviously, the crowdfunding campaign, which goes on for another 9 or 10 days or so, where you will find so many dope perks. The perks are just like, there's perks on there that I can't even believe that I agreed to you know, to be a part of. But, you know, we have amazing things going on in the campaign. And you get to find our YouTube channel. And on there, more content, you know, Box on the Street, where we talk to people in New York City, random people we walk up to, start talking to them about self-care, mental health, favorite sports movies, favorite romantic movies. You can find the links to our podcast, Box of the Movie Podcast, where we have the cast and the crew on every week, and we talk to them about what their journey has been, what it looks like, you know, what type of energy they on, how they feeling today. And, you know, it fully immersed the boxer, all things boxer just kind of fully immerses you in our world. And hopefully you will see something on that website that will make you want to be a part of our world. So Jared, did I miss anything?
No, I think you got everything. I think
Okay.
you got everything. You mentioned the podcast too.
Yes.
Yeah. Box on the Street podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, all the things.
All the
Like Katie likes to say. That's another one, a Katieism. All the things and
things. What is happening right now? Okay.
Right. Right. What is happening? Exactly.
So yeah, I just want to say, everybody definitely tune into the podcast. This week we have our very own Jacrae on there. I've listened to it twice already. It's just really a dynamic episode, and the insight that you get from this actor and how he thinks, how he moves, how he operates, how he processes, how he puts everything together is really inspiring and astounding to me. So yeah, definitely check that out. He's like, okay, Katie, all right, still, all right.
Well, I'm super excited for you guys. You know, I learned about the film through Jared. And if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have learned about this film until you guys really blew up. And then it would have been too late to get you guys on the Zoom.
Right. Price went up.
Word up. No, we spoke about relationships earlier, so I think that's really important. You know, there's strength in just the power of numbers. So we really need to come together, y'all, and just help this cast and crew. Let's support this cast. It's an amazing, amazing cast. I'm your host, Martine, and thank you guys for tuning in. We're signing out. Thank you all.